This conference will now be recorded.
I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:36 on May 19th. Can I get a motion to approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or need to change it? None? If not, a call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone against it? No, but that motion passes unanimously. On the financial report, I said that Lou, who does it, is not available. He's between North Carolina and here. So unless somebody's got anything, we're going to move right on. I know Maureen asked about, she sent me a note about some extra money. What we've tried to do is, and I'll look this week because we haven't voted on the budget, so we got plenty of time. We haven't even actually met. We've listened to every place, every organization, what they need. The big thing is, I know everybody knows, it's a political year. The mayor's adamant we have to stay under 440 mil, and we'll have 4 years in a row. We've reduced the mill slightly, maybe, but after years and years of going forward. So I will review that. But usually what we do is put a chunk of money in. Now, last year, obviously nothing got done because of COVID. So there'll be a lot of, between now and June 30th, there'll be a lot of activity. Maureen, you're here, right, on the phone?
I'm here. Yep, I'm here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep, so I'll look at it. I got your message.
Thank you.
I'm not on because I'm using my phone for the agenda. Okay, so if there's no other question on the financial report.
Jim, quick question. Has
yes.
it been determined, or is anybody thinking about how the town is going to be spending money from the CARES Act and the follow-on bills, and if we're going to be able to use that at the park, or it's just pools or infrastructure or whatever it might be?
Yeah, that's a big question, and I've been out of pocket for 5 days. I've been down here, but what the discussion was, if I understand you, Paul, you're talking about two things. It's like $47 million that were allocated. 25 million, I believe. Don't quote my numbers, are for the Board of Ed, and the rest is for us. We're trying to figure out where you can legally use it, and I'll tell you what I think is. You fill the things you can, and then you move the money. It seems kind of simple, but there's always politics involved. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to get some projects done, but a lot of it has to be used, for COVID things, and that's where there's still. And I think the mayor's being cautious because we don't have a budget yet. So
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense to everybody. Did everybody know that we got the whole state got a whole bunch of money, but we're not quite sure how we spend it and how we can spend it yet. There's been mixed. It's like everything. They give it to you, but then, like I'll give you one thing. We have a $43 million pension deficit. If it was up to us, we would take that 100% of that and hit that, because that would relieve us very quickly. Instead of being out 40 years on a pension deficit, we would clean it up, but we can't. We know that because we already tried some things. That's one example. The Board of Ed still wants the same amount of money, but we're looking at other towns are giving them zero because they're getting a whole bunch of money. Just for, if you don't know what a mill is 4.4 million. So if it's 20 million, they're getting like 4 million, so it's really, really convoluted right now. I know that, Paul, that's a long answer, but that's where we're at.
All right. Well, no, I appreciate the update.
Okay. The fundraising committee, Ann, you and I talked after open day, and I'm back. We'll get together. So why don't I send you an email next week? And I think, Maureen, you were willing to help out also?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, because you remember, one of the things is we have to prepare for the pumpkin festival, and an opening, but we also have to look at be it a reality that we're going to have to monitor this, because if there's a spike in October or September, we may have to do some things different. So, and also we had talked about some joint fundraisers between all the organizations. So we can do that then. Okay. All right.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
the next thing is Boothe Memorial Railway Society. Paul, you're on.
That would be me. But I'd like to thank Aileen. She's been a tremendous help to us, because I sent in an email with some action items that we'd like to have addressed. But, when Mo McCarthy was here, we had an excellent working relationship with him, and he had Dan and his crew and all that good stuff coming out taking care of items for us. But we're rounding the back stretch. The Garden Railway is essentially complete. In fact, this past Monday, we planted right in the middle a big blue spruce tree. The idea is when Friends of Boothe holds their Christmas gathering at the mansion, like it did a couple of years ago. Last year we got COVIDed out. We're going to plan on decorating the Christmas tree and running in conjunction with you guys, as we did with Ed with the indoor displays.
Yep.
So the blue spruce is in. We're basically done. Next item, Jim, I had sent you this, but I guess we can get a hold of Highway. Some additional signs about not sitting or running on the wall, because they were real quick to get us those do not go into the garden. So that was much appreciated. So we want no sitting or standing on wall, fear of somebody falling off, scraping themselves, whatever the case might be.
I think, Paul, that I reached out to Renee. She's pretty good. She took over from Mo. I think that's all we have to do. They have some kind of procedure. They can turn it out fairly quickly. So if you want to reach out to her, or, it'd probably be better because you could explain to her. And if you need any help from me, let me know. Okay.
Okay. Well, Aileen and I discussed it. What I'm going to do, depending on where the need is, I'll email that specific department head, copy Renee, copy you.
Right. And I remember Aileen. Aileen is great about knowing how to work all the angles.
She is. I had asked her a question this morning. She was back to me within 5 minutes.
I know that sounds kind of
See, I'm good
cynical.
for something.
I know that sounds cynical about the angles, but that's what relationships, angles, whatever term you prefer. But I call it
That's how it
squeaky
works.
wheel.
That's it. That's it. Okay, I got a couple of items here. We bought a sprinkler. We have a lot of new plantings in the garden. These real miniature or dwarf plantings that look real good when the buildings are outdoors next to them. But seeing they're new plantings, we have to water them. So we bought a sprinkler. We already have a hose. But the outdoor faucet's leaking badly. I'll get a hold of Public Works. You turn it on and it's squirting out the side, or out the front of the faucet. Another item, we're asking the town, we used to have the floors done at least once a year. Town would come in and polish them up. Now everything got shut down, of course, because of COVID, but I'll find out what we need to do to get back on a schedule there. Don't know what the town's contemplating on plantings, because they tore up. We had a couple of nice plantings out in front of the building. They were a little scraggly, but they pulled them up and never replaced them. Aside from that, and I wanted to run this by you folks, we're contemplating, as a finishing touch, building a ticket booth at the back corner of the building by the garden. It would be one of these kits that we'd assemble, paint it the same color as the building, and have a door, of course, and then have a simulated ticket window. We thought of moving our conductor that's inside the building out there as our ticket agent. So I don't know what we would need to do in terms of getting approvals from the town for that, or of course getting their help in putting in an 8x8 foot pad. But that's one of our wishes also. One other item we talked about this also, I think, Jim, in our last email. When we put in the pad for the power, on the side of the building by the garden wall. Town was nice enough, they came and put in gravel for drainage and so on to the right of it. So now that we're done, we're saying this is a great idea. Let's have it on the left side down to the edge of the building and the edge of the wall. So again, I'll put these requests in and see where we go. We'll keep you posted. The only other thing, and I know this is ongoing, we've been picking up a lot of these. Everybody can see them? We probably have 6 or 8. The roof on that building is really shot. It's over 20 years old, and I know it's going to be a capital project, but you know, we keep asking, and I guess maybe eventually we'll get on the list somehow. But that is it, unless anybody has any further questions for us.
Anybody got anything? I want to back up, Andrea. I apologize. I didn't see you on here. I know we have talked on the fundraising, you know, so I apologize. I didn't see you there. I don't know why. Now I see your face. So anyhow, we'd like you involved too. Are you there?
Turn your mic on, Andrea.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep, I know. Thanks, Paul. My video was not on when we started, Jim, so no problem. It's working now. I don't know why my computer's been a little temperamental with this platform, but I am here, and yes, just loop me in when you're ready to have me be a part of any discussions. That's great.
Okay, thanks a lot.
problem.
Boothe Memorial Astronomical Society. No one here. Rose Garden. No one here.
No.
Let me just talk about the Rose Garden. Is anybody doing that anymore? I know the gentleman, I can't remember his name now, the older gentleman.
Frank Kecko.
Frank, is he still with us, or is he retired?
Yes. Nope, he's there.
Okay. Because I want to talk to him and see if we can get, I was getting some complaints about how Boothe looked. People were telling me on Facebook, not that I necessarily respond to everything on Facebook, but I don't know if you saw it. And so I'm thinking,
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, we just got to circle around. Nobody's actually contacted me officially, but some people were telling me unofficially, and I'm not part of that group that you know, criticizes everybody. But I do think there's a point here. We need to get back on track. It's like everything probably got neglected the last year.
What were people complaining about? The Rose Garden?
The mulch
Just
in the parking lot. The mulch in the parking lot, right, Jim?
Oh,
that's correct. The mulch
Yeah.
in the parking lot.
okay,
And
well,
I'm just-
that's
There's
not,
one, yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's one parking space that has like last year's
Yes.
little like residue of mulch, and somebody's been out of shape about that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I said. You have to be careful if you react to everything on Facebook. You know, you got people that sometimes I don't think they have lives. They never contribute, but they can always tell you what you did wrong or what you're not doing. So anyhow,
I don't really see how that's the Rose Gardens issue.
It's not.
I would think, I mean, we just had the street sweepers come through on my street up in the neighborhood. I mean, maybe we could have the town street sweeper go through the parking lot. That would be a simple solution in my mind.
well, I maybe I inadvertently tied the two together, but I think I just want to kind of circle around, and Frank's still here to start. We had a young guy that was working, but I don't know what happened to him. So we need to kind of think how we're going to do this in the future. So, all right. We beat that horse enough. Amateur Radio Club.
Yeah. Good evening, Jim, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, Bob, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that dead horse. I'm sorry, Jim. I'm the mulch expert. I did some research. I talked to Frank this past Saturday. We were preparing for Sunday, but with the rain, we didn't bother. But there was a lot of people up there Saturday, by the way. Anyhow, it turns out that Public Works is dumping that stuff in the parking lot, and
Yes.
we got a brand new pile of it last week.
Yes.
So the stuff from last April is still here. and there's a new pile, and apparently they're spreading it somewhere, and they're just using that as a holding place. I think they, you know, I don't want to complain about it, but we have had people tripping there. It does get tracked into the buildings. It's just a little more judicious thought about where to dump it. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. The thing that kind of bothers me, and it's not really radio related, is that sunken garden. That's going to start. That wall is going to start coming down. The pine tree outside of our building, the roots are under the wall, and there's now, I'm going to say about a half-inch gap between the wall and the pillar, where water is going to go this winter and really raise heck with it. It's just such a beautiful thing. I hate to see it crumble like it did a few years ago before they fixed it. So that's it. I just wanted to point that out. That somebody should look at it.
Hold on, I'm texting Renee on the mulch, because while I'm doing it, that way I know it's done. And
The great
yeah.
mulch.
Yeah, something simple, but Bob, can you real quick summarize what you just said about the second item, because I was texting.
Oh
I
yeah.
have a habit of doing 2 or 3 things at once.
Yeah, well, I know the feeling, Jim. Yeah, the sunken garden, the wall is being damaged. I think that's the CCC camps during the Depression put that in, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And it's being damaged by that big pine tree that's outside of the radio club there. The roots are under the wall, and it's starting to separate, and it's going to come over. It's not going to get better. It's going to get a lot worse quickly. There are gaps in there where the water can freeze and cause some real damage this winter, I'm sure. I'm a wall expert, believe me, I know. I've got them all around me here. But I just hate to see it start falling apart. This happened a few years ago, and they came up and patched up a different area of it. But here we go again, but with it in a different spot. And all it would do, all that has to be done is that tree's got to be cut or something.
Okay. I just already heard from Renee on the mulch, and I mentioned the wall. So
okay,
that'll have to pursue a little bit more. The mulch she'll do quickly, I'm sure. That'll the great.
If I may, if they got too much mulch remaining, we might be able to use that over on the garden.
Lots of places.
Come and get it, Paul. Come and get it.
Well, yeah. Actually, we're heading up to the Trent Museum. I'll talk to the guy who runs the garden, see what he's thinking of doing, and if we could use, because there's a big pile. Is that when you're looking from our building directly across the green area? There's a big pile there just in front of the crosses.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about, or is there some in the parking lot?
By the radio club, Paul.
Okay.
And I talked to Frank, and Frank said, no, it's not theirs, and it doesn't belong to the sister cities either.
No. It's the
Okay.
town.
I don't know where they're spreading it, but it's I don't know. All right.
But just to not that I think this is a valid complaint, but the Facebook complaint, the complaint on those social media forums, someone posted a picture of one of the corner parking spaces in the back, the back lot, like over near the old toll booth there. And the comment was something like, come on, Stratford, can't you clean up this? Boothe Park still has mulch left over from a year ago. Let's clean it up. So I don't think it was about a new pile of mulch. I think it was about the residue of last year's. Jim, is that how you heard it come to you? That's what I thought.
It came to me second or third hand, but I have to go back to remember we're in a political year, real big, where they're going to nitpick everything. It's the same crowd, they're You know, we're trying to maintain some sanity in an insane world.
Oh, God bless you. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I just want to make it clear that I didn't think anybody was complaining about fresh mulch. It was just like leftover, not cleaned up. That's what
That's exactly what I got out of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it had been left for a long time. Yeah. So,
right.
Of course.
anything else? If not, Ann, you're on. Friends of Boothe.
Okay, this gives me a good segue because I have been talking to Frank Kecko with the Rose Garden several times over the last couple of months. I don't know if anybody noticed, but they did put in those two benches that had been sitting in the garage. They had been refurbished and they're beautiful, and the Parks and Rec put in the cement blocks, and now we have the two benches sitting next to the Sister Cities Garden and the Rose Garden. So it's lovely. And in defense of Parks and Rec also, I want to say that they were over there night and day before opening day. And I think they did a remarkable job. I saw a lot of what they were working on, including that sunken garden, not the wall that you're talking about, Bob, but that archway that's over by the organ house that was really crumbling in big chunks. So they took that archway down, and unfortunately, the two pillars are still there, but at least they got rid of that part of it for safety. And I think that, you know, their attention has been brought to that entire piece of the property with the sunken garden, because I think it's crumbling on all sides. Even the wall that's next to the Coliseum is, I've heard complaints about that leaking into the building and that kind of thing. So I think they know about it. Maybe if we complain about it again, they might give us some attention. I don't know. The garden also got a huge donation from private folks in regard to those benches, and donated that money is going to go towards more daffodil bulbs and things like that, and renovating the rose garden. So I'm sure Frank is very happy about that. Okay, Friends of Boothe, everything I think went pretty well for opening day, considering that we didn't have much time to pull it together, and that we never had to do the food vendors and the car show or any of that, because Port 5 used to do the flag raising ceremony, the car show, the food vendors, that whole aspect of it, and brought us to life about 10 or 12 years ago. But we scrambled around and got all those pieces of the pie. And honestly, I think that it was a healthy transformation, because we brought it back to Stratford. For instance, the flag raising was done by the Stratford VFW and the veterans that are putting in the Vets Museum down the street on the edge of the Boothe property. And Sister Cities Chorus sang the national anthem instead of some random person who belongs to the Port 5 Auxiliary and lives in Fairfield, you know. So there were a couple of things like that that we were able to reach out and use Stratford folks for opening day. So anyway, I think that's about, we got a new insurance policy if anybody's interested. And I know that the volunteers did a lot of work on all of the buildings before we opened it up, doing the, you know, dusting, polishing, floors, all of that, especially in the homestead. So kudos to all of them. And if anybody has any questions, fire away.
Anybody have any questions for Ann?
Yeah, I wanted to say, and last Saturday, those benches got a lot of use.
Yeah.
When you get to my age, they're comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were
They're
running
great.
around trying to clean up the place, and I
Yeah,
sat down a few times.
good for you.
It's a beautiful view too. It's very nice looking out
It
over
is.
everything. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm pleased they got them in for opening day. That was great.
Okay, so the student volunteer issue, there's no one here. Booth opening day, Ann did a good job of covering that. I think that we've got that straight. The Great Pumpkin, so a little bit, it's gonna be a little bit different this year. Lou is gonna be really tied up with the election, so he's asked me, it's not that he's not gonna help at all, but in the past, he was kind of a key person the last 2 or 3 years. He's got good notes, so I'm gonna, in this meeting that we come up with, I wanna, and I personally am running again, so I can help, but I don't wanna be the lead person, because it's gonna get, this is, I've been doing this 10, 12 years, this political thing, and this is really gonna be political this time. It's probably gonna be a little bit more nasty than usual. It's the nature of what's happening in America. So, with Lou's position, he's got to make sure Laura gets elected and enough people to support her. So, that's the only thing I'll say about, the Pumpkin Fest. I know everybody, at one time, people would say Boothe is non-political, and I hear library non-political. Here's my thought in today's world. Everything seems to be political.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
Fortunately,
everything.
that's what we agree, Jim. You're right, and it's a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah, it really is, because, like these complaints about the mulch, it's one of my favorite people who can't stand me, so she's got to, she's got to
Oh,
reach out for me, So again, if you saw, we go through, put it this way, you don't want to be an elected official, and God forbid you're a Republican in 2021 in Stratford, Connecticut. And by the way, just so I disclose my salary. It's zero.
Hey, Jim, you raise a good point. I was on a board of ed back in the 90s, and people used to ask how much we get paid. I said, twice as much as you. Zero.
Zero. I have a
You're a
funny story.
volunteer.
My
And
first, real quick story, my first election, a guy called up screaming at me, I pays my taxes. I said, I pay your salary. He said, no, you don't. He says, I pay taxes. I said, so do I. He said, well, I pay your taxes, your salary. I said, but I don't get nothing. And he's quiet, and he finally says, why are you doing this? I said, believe me, I ask myself that every time somebody's not happy. Why am I doing this? But all jokes aside, it's the reality. We're gonna have to reassess how we do booths. So because Lou did do a good job. He's well organized, and I know, he made it pretty easy. He really did, because he did a lot of things, and we just had to show up. But we got to do it all this time to make sure it's right. I don't think he'll not give us advice, but like I said, he's got a big job. The big job is to keep Laura in office, and as many support people, Democrat or Republican, that support where we're going. Again, not a political speech, but a reality speech.
everybody should be rowing together on things like Boothe Park and the other assets that we have in town that everybody enjoys. It's great.
Is there any new business before we adjourn? If not, I'll call for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So I'll reach out next week to the 3 or 4 people we talked about and we'll go from there. We'll start preparing for things. Thanks, Aileen, for organizing this.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
Doing a fantastic